m'amènes un bon galon de caribou, puis on devient amis. Sinon, mon petit gars, tu sors avant que je te sorte.
Carl, like many of his contemporaries, felt like he had more trouble breathing when he wasn't smoking. Cigarette was his own personal breathing assistant.
Vois-tu le livre, là? C'est le Wendigo. Ouais, le Wendigo. Un guerrier qui devient un loup pour se venger de sa grosse peine. Et... gomme-moi la belle rose de la tulipe, qui se donne au yob sur le mercredi des cendres. C'est-tu pas effrayant, cette histoire-là? Hé, la Corriveau, Bathurst, ça te passe l'envie de te marier, la Corriveau. À tuer tous ses maris, squick, les uns après les autres. Pas de pitié dans le mariage. M'amène un bon galon de caribou, puis on devient amis. Sinon, mon petit gars, tu sors avant que je te sorte. C'est encore beau. Tout ce qui est vieilli est bien meilleur. Tu marches, tu marches, tu marches, tu sens des pieds.
There Carl had fed his mind, but had forgotten the harsh reality that his body also needed nourishment, especially in the dead of winter. The cold seemed to be more brutal here than anywhere else. It seeped into bones and into every breath to get to the heart until it stopped. Carl needed to be dressed in warm clothes to survive.
Tu m'amènes un bon galon de caribou, puis on devient amis. Sinon, mon petit gars, tu sors avant que je te sorte.
There, Carl had fed his mind, but had forgotten the harsh reality that his body also needed nourishment, especially in the dead of winter. That truck had obviously seen its share of gravel roads. Carl wasn't a mechanic, but he could easily tell that only the most heartfelt prayer would bring this old beater back from its slumber. With that cold, however, it was more likely that it would wait until next spring to wake up. With a homemade shooting range such as this, it wasn't hard to imagine a stray bullet ending its course inside the flesh of an unsuspecting passerby. Granted, Carl thought, there wasn't much in the way of passersby around here. The place looked more like a pigsty than a house. A heavy stench of curdled milk, cheap alcohol, and boiled cauliflower filled the air. Back then, in Africa and elsewhere, people ready to take up arms to stand against the yoke of English imperialism. In Montreal, mailboxes were blown up, abductions were carried out, and violent manifestos were distributed to media outlets. But around here, in the great northernmost, all a man could do is curse out loud against a faraway evil and pray for the revolution to arise. That man, by any reckoning, was from that very stock. Régent Blouin. Seems like that pig had a name after all. Rock music invaded the minds of men even in the remotest of places. The man didn't own a turntable, though, so there's that going for him. You had to be out of your mind to cook up white whiskey at home. The all-surrounding stench of alcohol alone was probably enough to gas a man to death. Carl knew right away that the owner of this place wasn't a copper collector. No, this was a junkman's base of operations. The guy definitely seemed like quite the expert in scavenging scrap metal, with or without permission, surely. In the right hands, red metal could sell like hotcakes. If Carl had at any point wished to get it... his hands on some caribou, he couldn't have wished for better than a distillery like this one. Carl felt that it was mission accomplished, with the wicked nectar in his hands. Sometimes, and especially around here, people are so possessive with their land, as a dog is with hydrants. Roswell, Atamipek, same story. Large deserts conducive to extravagant follies. Carl deducted this was a map of the area. Were those pins pointing to places of interest? Carl deducted this was a map of the area. Were those pins pointing to places of interest? Weird stuff. Kind of a crossing between a colander and a hairdryer. What was it for? To play telepath? To protect against nuclear waves? These scribblings were undoubtedly the mark of a tormented mind. Something wasn't right in the poor mechanic's head. By following the plan, Carl was led to believe that the snowmobile's parts had to be scattered about in the vicinity. Another worrisome victim of this ice, this one seemingly petrified in action. The poor man, before being frozen solid, seemed to have been defending the entrance to his cabin. But from what? Carl hadn't lived up to his good finder reputation. He still hadn't found any of the wealth contained in Lamotte's lands.